Alright, on to the next game that we played today, and although you can see my Tomb King's army set up here, what we decided to try for today's game was to actually swap armies so that I was playing with Phil's Dark Elf army and he was using my Tomb King's army. So this is no ordinary battle report. What you guys are watching here is a report where somebody else is playing with my Tomb King's army, and you can see how he has deployed his lot of guys. Now, a quick point about the background. If you remember back to the National Warhammer Fantasy Battle Tournament that I did reports for, the NatCon event, I played against Phil in the first round, the very first game of that tournament. And for this particular game you're watching now, I've decided to use the list that he used against me back then, and we've swapped lists essentially. And this list you're seeing here is the same Tomb King's list I always use, and it was the list I used in the tournament. So, without further ado, he's decided to deploy a single Scorpion way out in the left flank, along with all of his chariots, with the Prince in the middle, Carrion behind the hills, the woods, sorry, Tomb Guard behind the unit of 10 archers, another block of 20 on the hill. He's got the King there in the middle of the archers in the front, Casket and Skelepot in the hill, as you've seen me do time and time again. On the right-hand side, there's one unit of skeletons. Now, I have basically waited for him to deploy everything before deploying stuff like the Hydra and all that, but he's decided to tunnel his Scorpion and his Swarm. I really wouldn't have tunneled the Scorpion in this game because you kind of need it to fend off stuff like the Cold One Knights and all that. As for his general deployment, probably would have been better to have the chariots on the right-hand flank because there is a larger, more open area for them to swing around, whereas there's blockages with forests in the center here. If he puts them over here. Tomb Guard behind the archers probably wasn't the best move because you want to keep the archers shooting for as long as possible with the Tomb Guard threatening from a various flank. He could have put the archers inside the forest and just shot with them from there and kept the Tomb Guards where they are, potentially. But yeah, otherwise it's a fairly solid deployment, and won't talk too much else about it. We're going to go to the next photo. Now, me playing as Dark Elves with a level 4 Supreme Sorceress on a Dark Pegasus. I've got Dark Riders in the far right flank facing off against the chariots. They can redeploy very easily. The Hydra is in the forest, so I can't be hit by anything for now, and I can just run through the forest without penalty because it's got the skirmishes rule, which is totally wrong. I'm just abusing Dark Elves here. I've got the Witch Elves in front of the building there. It's straight in the center, so they can just move forward directly without pass and go, collecting $200 and destroying all the Tomb Kings in the center. Spearmen in a big block. I've got the Cauldron of Blood behind the Spearmen. That's actually a mistake, I realized later on, because the Spearmen, if they flee, they'll flee through the Cauldron of Blood. So that was a bit silly. I didn't realize that. That little coin in the middle behind my repeater crossbowman is where he's tunneling his Scorpion. On the left-hand flank, you can see my Chariot and Cold One Knights. And on the far left, there's going to be a repeater bolt thrower on the hill. Now, I've kept my Chariot and my cavalry all the way away from his chariots and so forth, so I can just go straight towards the hill and wipe out all of his infantry and his casters in one fell swoop if he doesn't stop me by some other means. Next photo, you can see my extreme left-hand flank with the repeater on the hill, and there's a little marker there just to indicate that he's burrowing up his swarm underneath that repeater. And that about does it for this particular photo. So we're going to go to the next, where the Tomb Kings win the roll for the first turn. So Phil decides to move out with his chariots on the left, moving the Carrion behind the tower. Now I just want to point out to you guys that I have decided to go with the Lore of Shadows instead of Dark Magic for the Supreme Sorceress. And I picked up Steed of Shadows, Shadowy Steed or whatever it is, and Unseen Lurker, but not Pit of Shades. And Shadows is a real anti-Tomb Kings lore, so I've just been really itching to try this out against Tomb Kings because I've had other people use it against me, and it's a really good lore. And over in the foreground there, he's moved through with his archers, spreading them out and getting them ready to pepper me with shots. So looking pretty good for an opening. Over in the next photo, you can see him slamming my Spearman with a direct hit from the catapult. This guy was just dead on with his aim, and he rolled a hit, so I got obliterated there, 9 guys or so with the Spearman, and they failed their panic check, so that took them out of the game straight away, except, well, not out of the game, they were onto the side of the board. The next photo, as it shows you here, the Spearmen have rallied way back in my turn, and his Carrion have moved over here. This is actually Tomb King's turn 2. I think I might have skipped first turn for Dark Elves, because Dark Elves just basically moved out a little bit, and nothing else much happening here. Harpies move in front of the Cauldron of Blood. The Witch Elves have moved up forward a further bit. I'm going to go to the next photo where we can see an overview of the battlefield, a bird's eye view. Yeah, what happened during my turn one, there was the Hydra move forward into the forest in the far right there, down the bottom right, and all of my spells failed, so no unseen lurker or anything like that, and the sorceress, because she'd fled, she wasn't arranged for any of her dark magic spells, so what I did is I had to cast Steed of Shadows on her to move her into the repeater crossbowman unit in the center there. But otherwise, yeah, look at this battlefield. What do you think? Chariot's redirecting now on Tomb King's turn 2 to put some pressure on anything coming past the building there. So good plan, but he's had to move the prince from the unit with the banner into the unit without the banner. So the prince's unit is not going to have +1 to hit in close combat, and that's crucial. So he's kind of, put himself in an awkward location there. Plus, the Hydra should be in charge range of one of those units. So don't really know why he's moving the chariots in forward like that, but everything else is just waiting for me and doing some shots. So next photo again, I think we haven't seen this photo. Yeah, the chariots are in the background there. All of the shooting opens up on me. I lose plenty of crossbowmen, so that sorceress has not got too many friends there to keep her in terms of lookout sir rules and so forth. The Scorpion hasn't shown up yet. Neither has the Swarm underneath the repeater bolt thrower. The Coldwind Knights failed their stupidity test, and the chariot has moved up a little bit, getting ready to charge next turn. Next photo, this is a crucial turn because I charged the unit of the chariots in the far right with the Hydra and charged the unit in the middle with the Witch Elves. He thought he'd moved them out of range, but he didn't quite get that accurate, and the Witch Elves just charged straight into the chariots, not having to check for fear because they're frenzied. And Spearmen have rallied down the bottom of the field. The chariot has charged the line of archers, which has had the king move into it, so the king can now move across and kill the chariot, but I'm just looking to stop him from shooting for a while. The sorceress with the pendant of Caliph has moved to the center with the Focus Familiar, so the point of that is just to get Unseen Lurker off on the Coldwind Knights to charge either the archer, well, probably the archers actually, so I can overrun through into the casket. But that's about it. The Harpies failed the fear test, so they couldn't join in the party, and things going pretty well. Next photo, taking a look around the side, the Dark Riders have moved right around the edge to get some shots off on the Scorpion. Hydra's getting ready to butcher the chariots, and we're in for a brutal close combat phase, so let me just talk you through what happened. Pretty much, the Hydra destroyed all of the 3 chariots in one go, with combat res, of course. The Witch Elves demolished everything except the Prince, so that chariot unit absolutely squandered and wiped out, unfortunately. I think my opponent just misjudged it by a little bit, but he probably ought to have been a little bit more cautious as far as that was concerned. The chariot in the far background killed a few skeleton archers, but didn't quite wipe them out or anything, and no more combats anywhere else. Next photo shows you the result of that. There's no more chariots, and the prince is the only one left